Dan Donnelly was a legendary figure in boxing and Irish folklore who led an extraordinary life that continues to captivate audiences to this day. Born in Dublin in 1788, Donnelly rose from humble beginnings to become the first Irish-born heavyweight champion and a symbol of national pride. Daniel Donnelly was born in March 1788 in the Docklands area of Dublin, Ireland. He was one of 17 children, and at the time of his upbringing, Ireland was a devastated country, with Dublin being the most undesirable of all. Crime and disease were rampant, and the majority of the city lived in one-room tenements with an average of 10 people to a room. In his early years he worked as a carpenter, but he was known to be a regular tavern goer, and he was recognised as a hard fighter and a hard drinker. Even in the tough streets of Dublin, Donnelly was said to be a hard man to provoke and would go to great lengths to avoid settling a disagreement in the traditional Irish manner. Nonetheless, when provoked, he was said to be handy with his fists. One such occasion occurred in the Docklands area of Dublin, where he ran to investigate the sound of a screaming woman. He found the woman being attacked by two burly sailors and went straight to her defence. He battled it out with the two sailors, but during the melee, his arm was mangled with sticks and rocks. He was taken to a doctor to tend to his wounds, who at first wanted to amputate his arm, but thankfully, the doctor was able to piece it back together. After Donnelly recovered, he went back to his ways of drinking and fighting. Donnelly was a man of moral character and was known to take on Dublin's feuding gangs, which earned him a reputation as a man who kept the crooks of the city in check. His reputation spread to the ears of fighting men far and wide, which led to one boxer pursuing him in the taverns demanding a fight. Donnelly was reluctant at first, but eventually he accepted the challenge, and the fight took place at Dublin's Grand Canal docks. Donnelly's reputation as being a hard man to provoke held true right up until the men took their fighting stances. He had tried to talk the other man down, but his attempts fell on deaf ears. So the men began to exchange blows, and the fight dragged on for 16 rounds before Donnelly finished the boxer and became the champion of the city. In 1800, the Act of Union had passed, which merged the kingdoms of Ireland and Great Britain into the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. The land was leaderless and was in desperate need of someone to give Britain a bloody nose. Around the same time as Donnelly's fight at the Grand Canal docks, an Irish aristocrat in an English tavern by the name of Captain William Kelly overheard two men mocking Ireland and its reputation as having a population of courageous people. He found it greatly insulting and was driven to find an Irish man to restore the credibility of his native land. This is what would eventually lead him to Dan Donnelly. Donnelly's first major fight took place under Captain Kelly in the Curragh in County Kildare on the 14th of September 1814 at Belcher's Hollow, a natural amphitheatre often used for prize fights. His opponent was Tom Hall, a pugilist who was touring Ireland, giving sparring lessons and boxing instructions at the time. 20,000 people are said to have squashed into Belcher's Hollow to see the event, which was fought in a roped-off 20-foot section in the centre. The fight lasted for about 20 minutes before Donnelly was declared victorious. Donnelly spent the next 5 days in a tavern in Kilcullen, County Kildare, celebrating his victory. He was now the Irish champion, and the people of Ireland celebrated a new hero who was a symbolic winner of an even bigger fight. Every time Donnelly's hard fist smashed an English nose, it was seen as a strike against the oppressor itself, and from that day forward, Belcher's Hollow was rechristened Donnelly's Hollow. Some time after the Hall fight, Dan Donnelly was approached by two top prize fighters, George Cooper and Tom Molyneux. Molyneux challenged him to a fight, but Donnelly declined, saying he had no interest in fighting a conquered man, referring to how Cooper had defeated him recently. Molyneux grew furious at such a response, but he was soon calmed when Cooper decided that he would fight Donnelly instead. The fight took place on December 13th, 1815, again in Belcher's Hollow, now Donnelly's Hollow, and once again, 20,000 people are said to have witnessed the spectacle. Cooper was of gypsy blood and had a fearful reputation in the world of pugilism, but despite this, in the 11th round, after a savage attack from Donnelly, George Cooper was sent flat to his back, and in the 12th round, Donnelly finished him off with a fierce blow that smashed his jaw. The cheers from the crowd have been compared to the sound of artillery, and it was heard in villages for miles around. After the fight, Donnelly went on to open a tavern, hoping his fame would bring him great custom, but his wild ways got the better of him, and for every drink he served the customer, he also served himself, eventually running up to great debt. So he went to England to try and make a career out of exhibition fighting, but this endeavour would prove to be fruitless. With his reputation as a great pugilist, the people wanted to see him in a real fight, so he accepted a prize fight against Tom Oliver, which took place in England on 21st of June 1819 in Crawley Down, Sussex. The grueling fight went on for over an hour, but in the 24th round, Donnelly reigned victorious. Donnelly returned to Dublin and once again tried his hands at running a tavern. This time, however, the tavern proved to be a success. His drinking binges, on the other hand, would take their toll on his health. Dan Donnelly died on February 18, 1820 at Donnelly's public house. He was 32 years old. His body was laid to rest at Bully's Acre in Kilmainham, Dublin. A mysterious chapter then began to unfold in Donnelly's story. For days after his death, loyal friends and fans stood guard over his grave, as grave snatching was common practice at the time. A fresh body could get a robber around £10, which was a hefty sum in those days. One night, when the crowd had left the graveside, his corpse was stolen and sold to a doctor by the name of Hall. A huge mob took to the streets and demanded that the body be returned to its resting place. The doctor declined at first, but changed his mind when he was assured that either the body of Donnelly or his own would be in the grave by the end of the night. So Dr. Hall returned the body, but not before he removed Donnelly's right arm to study the muscle structure. He preserved the arm in lead paint, and the mummified appendage has been on display in pubs and sports arenas all over Ireland for the past 200 years. Beyond the intrigue surrounding his remains, Dan Donnelly's impact extends beyond the realm of boxing. He has become an icon of Irish sporting culture, inspiring future generations with his remarkable achievements and embodying the spirit of the Irish people. Donnelly's story symbolises the triumph of the underdog, capturing the imagination of audiences and solidifying his place in both sporting history and Irish folklore.